What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off.
Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at georgiaconstructioncareers.com.
All right, good afternoon and welcome to the 280th episode of the Alfa Insurance GHSA Drive for the State Title. Today is, sorry guys, it's October 2nd and we're going to talk about the Week 7 results. We're going to go over some of the new GHSA proposals. I'm going to do my Play of the Week brought to you by georgiaconstructioncareers.com and really break that down. It is from our Lee County, Houston County game, a truly memorable performance that we'll talk about. And then I'm going to go over the rankings, talk a little bit about the upcoming volleyball and softball state playoffs, and we'll go ahead and get started right now. So this past week on our season-long drive for the GHSA State Title, we made one of our furthest treks. We went to Houston County for the big Region 1 opener between the Bears and Lee County. Heading into this game, the stat that we talked about last week was Lee County's success against Houston County being 9-0 all time. Of course, they're 10-0 now. They got the big win. But Houston County impressed me a lot. It was probably the best game we've had all season long. We're probably 20 games in at this point. It was a phenomenal atmosphere, great weather, tons of fans there, and just a game where you hate to see either team lose, especially because it is going to factor into the playoff picture. They both obviously still have to play Thomas County Central, Northside Warner Robins, Tift County, and Veterans. But in this game, the first series, I'm just going to go over kind of what stood out to me, but Lee County's secondary made an unbelievable play on the first possession. So Houston County faced a third down. A.J. Hill threw a really nice ball. I think it was probably to Ricky Johnson. He's pretty open, but the defender just did such a good job at closing in on him and batting down the ball. And so I think Houston County didn't have too much confidence throwing it downfield just because Lee County's corners were so good, but where all their success came was they really executed well on the screen games. The receivers were blocking extremely well. They're explosive in space, and they were able to move the ball very effectively against Lee County. Lee County is known for its pass rush. The amount of sacks they've had in the last few weeks is just incredible. They had 10 sacks against Lake Gibson, and then late in the game, once they got Houston into some big third down situations, they just really brought the heat. Houston County converted a lot of fourth downs, made some really clutch plays, but ultimately Lee County comes away with 7 sacks in that game. Just another big-time performance from them. It was a 28-28 game at the half. Neither team really scored in the third quarter. It really developed into a defensive battle. And then the fourth quarter, Houston County was driving, but I believe they got stopped on a fourth down attempt, and then Lee County took over, and it was all Osamane Chroma, the running back. So the first thing I said after the game was how many yards did he end up having, because we didn't have live stats, but he took the first play. He had offensively like 70 yards, so we knew it had to have been close to 300. And it looks like the final tally has come out, and he had 327 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. He almost had 5, but I believe he fumbled right at the goal line, and a teammate recovered it. And he also had a ton of really clutch catches in that first half especially, and later on. These were key catches that kept them going on some big drives. They converted a lot of 3rd and longs in that first half. Houston County did a much better job in the second half, forcing them to punt, forcing them to come up empty on some of their possessions. But it was a great game. And the other thing I said was, because it's not often you go to a game and you see a running back that you know is going to get the ball. I don't know how many carries he got. It had to have been close to 30. But you know that, okay, he's had all this success. They're going to keep giving him the ball. He hasn't been stopped yet. But surely, he's coming into this game. He's got a sprained calf. Coach Fabrizio said afterwards that he was at 65, maybe 70%. Surely he's going to wear down. Houston County is going to be able to swarm him. No one else is really getting going. But credit to him, he just kept making plays. He couldn't be tackled, and it was one of the best individual performances I've ever seen from a running back. He's an absolute beast. When he came over afterwards, after he won Player of the Game, he looked big on the field. He's even bigger when he was on the set. I think a 6'2", 220 pounds. He plays basketball. He's extremely long. He probably has a, no exaggeration, I'd say 6'8", 6'9" wingspan, solid muscle, the breakaway speed. I can't imagine what he would be like pure, just fully healthy. That's a scary prospect. But we'll see. Ooh, who's calling me? Come on. It's my sister. Unreal. Yeah, let me put this on silent. All right. Call her after. And we'll read some of their roundups in a second, too, from week 7. But anyway, my immediate thought was, I've not seen a running back dominate a game like this since 2012, Tyron Jones. He was Walton's running back. He helped lead them to the state finals in 2011. He returned for his senior season. Walton was motivated after that 14-1 campaign. We were televising it in the Georgia Dome, same field that they had just lost in the championship. And I looked back at the numbers this morning. He had 302 rushing yards, 31 carries, and 5 touchdowns. So it was very similar, where it's just one guy. Everyone's trying to tackle him, and he's just making guys miss, getting out of them, and doing his thing. And so I've tried to paint a picture, but this video we're about to watch, it is my play of the week. This was the final nail in the coffin. And then the question was, did he score too early? Because sometimes when it's a tie game, there's like a minute left, you let the team score, but this wasn't that case. Points have become such a premium in the second half. They wanted to try to stop them. And then this was just all will. And once he got this touchdown in, you knew it was over, because it energized the entire sideline. It capped just an incredible performance by him, playing through the injury, and was just one of the most amazing plays to finish. Just an outstanding performance by him. So let's go ahead and watch it. Just check out the effort, and he does get in the end zone. So just, if you haven't seen it, get ready.
Got 15 seconds, still plenty of time to make a change.
So he's on the left side of the backfield.
Without giving it back to Houston County. Let's see. It is Cromah. Cromah dragging down. Oh my gosh, he stayed on his feet.
Oh my goodness.
Are you kidding me?
And there's the flex, and that's when you knew
Fourth
game over.
touchdown of the
A
night.
minute, 10
How did he
left.
even get through there?
It's a threat as well, but they're going to have to tackle 32 for me.
Yeah, Rusty called it right there.
Look at the
Have to
sidelines.
Tackle 32.
Got 15 seconds, still plenty of time to make a change.
Can they keep it without giving it back to Houston County? Let's see. It is Croma. Croma dragging down. Oh my gosh, he stayed on his feet.
Oh my goodness.
Are you kidding me?
And you got to think maybe Houston County was looking for that ref to blow the whistle, but you got to play to the whistle. And obviously Croma did. What a game by him. And so that will be a major storyline to watch the rest of this season. And as we mentioned, he's only a junior. He's got offers from absolutely everywhere. And seeing him in person, everyone was completely impressed. He is the real deal, a physical runner, a patient runner. Takeaway speed is something that he still possessed even when he was clearly limping, favoring one leg. And he made a ton of great catches too, in various different route combinations. Some were slants. He was running digs. So it wasn't just him coming out of the backfield. He was lining up as a receiver on their third down. So credit to him. Big win for Lee County. They're 10-0 all-time against Houston. That's incredible. And obviously that's just one of the big-time contenders in 6A. And it will be a key for any team in the future. They're going to have to pay a lot of attention to him because he can get going, and then they have other weapons as well. Also, just credit for the defenses. Both of them played outstanding in the second half. It's just when you got one guy that's going off like that, it is just one of those games. But really enjoyed going down there. It was a great venue. And best of luck to both teams. And sorry for Houston County. I know that was a tough one, but they will be just fine. I really like their offense. A.J. Hill impressed me in person. They got incredible receivers. A really great football team. I thought they played very well. All right, so let's look at our roundup real quick. I want to talk about some of these other interesting results. Obviously, the Newton win over Grayson, that's another one that's going to shake things up. Newton having to open up region play against Grayson, probably their biggest challenge perhaps in that region with Parkview, Brookwood, and Archer, and they came and really won an unbelievable battle. So let's see if we have it right here. Okay, that was the game that AJC was at, so I'll get to that one in a sec. Yeah, let's look at the rest of that region, though. Parkview, 34-20 win over South Gwinnett. They bounced back from their loss to Mill Creek. I think Parkview's defense is legit. I think they got incredible athletes. Their secondary is fantastic. And I think, yeah, they're going to be a team to watch. Archer getting the win over Brookwood, that's huge. We know with Coach Williams, he took over last year. They had a tough 2-8 outing. This year they're stacking up the wins. That was a huge way for them to open up the region. Let's see. Let's talk a little bit about the North Paulding-Walton game. I watched it on the ride back. North Paulding impressed me. They've got a sophomore quarterback. He can really throw it. He's got a big arm. He can throw the deep ball. They got Javarius George, their highest rated player. He's an absolute playmaker. I really like their passing game. And then defensively, this is an unbelievable Walton offense that they were going up against. They did a great job just keeping themselves in the game. I believe Walton went for it on fourth down 7 times in the first half. So they were really aggressive. North Paulding made some huge stops, produced some turnovers, a fumble on Walton's first possession, I think an interception later on. They're really talented, but in the end, Walton went heavy with the pass, Hunter Teal had an unbelievable game, and I think the breakout performance was Cam Lloyd, the Walton receiver that stepped up big after Wyatt Sonderman went down early in the first half. He had a huge game, I think over 140 yards. Let me check real quick. 7 catches for 147 and a touchdown. And then Hunter Teal, 7 catches as well, 122 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had a great game. And then if you watch the Cam Lloyd touchdown, it went pretty viral because I think it was the fastest a player has clocked this season. I think in the state, maybe even wider, but it was like 21.9 miles per hour. That's with a football in your hands. That's significant and very fast. But as soon as Cam caught the ball, you see Hunter's arms go up. He knew he was gone, even though there were about 3 North Paulding defenders with a good angle. He just completely toasted them to the end zone. He was a guy that Walton staff has been trying to get people to offer. They know how big he's been just with his playmaking. It's almost like a Tyreek Hill out there with his ability to stretch the field. And then that was his big breakout performance, and he has received an offer from Navy since that. And so credit to him for stepping up, not just making those big plays, but doing it in a tight ball game when they really needed it. And when Wyatt Sonderman was out, he's been Walton's leading receiver in terms of touchdowns and one of Hecklinski's favorite targets. But yeah, I think North Paulding, that was their final non-region game. Same for Walton. I think they have a very good chance of taking the region once again this year. They won the region last year. That was just the second time in school history they won a region title. And they're going to be in there with Hillgrove, Harrison, McEachern, and Marietta. So certainly stiff competition, but I like the way they came out. And I think they're a team that should be respected a lot more in 7A moving forward. They got tons of talent. They returned pretty much everyone on defense. And their sophomore quarterback, he had an early interception in that game, but he shook it off and really stepped up. So I was impressed by North Paulding. All right, so let's see. All right, Mill Creek, they had another big win, 47-7 over Central Gwinnett. They get ready to square off with Buford. So they won 47-7. Buford won 43-0 over Collins Hill. I expected Buford to win that game. I think Collins Hill is good in certain areas, but their offense has just not gotten it done this year. And going up against that Buford defense that's been shutting out opponents every week, that's not as surprising. I did think the defense would be able to limit Buford, but credit to them. They had a huge night, putting up 43 points. Let's see. Let's go to 6A real quick. So on Saturday, Douglas County got a shutout win over, I think that was New Manchester. Looked like, let's see, Hughes also won. They beat Alexander, I think it was either 64-0 or 54-0. So they look outstanding. And that's after Hughes lost to Douglas County last week. East Paulding, we had Coach Hirschfield on the show last week, and they jumped out to a really strong start against Noonan. They were up 20-0 at the half. Noonan got some points on the board late, but East Paulding is having a really strong start to the season, and they have big matchups coming up with Hughes and Douglas County. We'll see if they can get that playoff berth out of that region. Let's see, Creekview, a good win over Etowah. Thomas County Central did its thing, 52-0 over Veterans. And then I was surprised with Glenn Academy. They're coming off a big win over Brunswick, one of the best teams in 6A, but Effingham County, credit to them, 49-3 victory. That improves them to 2-0 in Region 2. That's huge for them. And then, Woodward Academy got a big win over Lovejoy, 31-7. Marist, 45-7, and then North Atlanta looks like they defeated St. Pius 31-8, so they are still undefeated. That's huge for the Warriors. Watch out for that Marist game, which is coming up later this month. Let's go ahead, though. We'll take a quick break and thank our sponsors. We'll be back on the other side.
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Hey, does it matter if this leaks?
It don't matter to me. Can't see it from my house.
Illegal use of hands, improper training.
GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com has 14 different highly skilled trades with tuition-free training in our certified apprenticeship programs to train you the right way. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
All right, welcome back. And I'm looking at Najee's Daily Dive right now. He talked to Chroma about the big performance. I think it's interesting what he points out, how prior to this game, he was playing a big role in the offense, but nothing like what we saw this last week in the region where they just heavily relied on him. And it is just really impressive that he did that with a clear calf injury. He was hurting the entire night. And that's a great insight right there if you want to check it out. All right, some other big games in 5A, which remains very intriguing. And we're going to be in Cartersville this week for the Cass game. We'll see if Cass can pull something off against Cartersville. I think that's a very tough matchup for them. Both teams have a lot of speed, but what I noticed from Cass watching them against Rome, they have like 3 really solid offensive linemen, and then in a couple spots they're just a little small. They're at like 190, 200 pounds. And so that's hard. If you can create a mismatch on the line of scrimmage, you're going to disrupt them. Cartersville has a pretty good defense. I think that's just going to be the key. And then they have speed to slow down Devin Henderson, who is doing his thing. I mean, you have Sokovie White. He's a big-time playmaker, but the heart and soul is Devin Henderson. Against Woodland Bartow this past week, it was a tight game, 14-12 early in the third, and then Devin took over. He ended up with 4 touchdowns on the ground and also a touchdown reception. So 5 touchdown performance. Cartersville is going to have to stop him. They know that's going to be the game plan. And just limit him on special teams and just watching for him. It's crazy how much he plays. Not going to come off the field. He's going to play defense, special teams, offense. He's going to do it all. You got Sokovie White, who I mentioned. He also had a touchdown reception in that game. All right, so their opponent, Cartersville, had a 21-17 win over Calhoun. They erased a 17-0 halftime deficit. It was the second year in a row they had a big comeback over Calhoun, and I believe that game was at Calhoun. So in this one, Christian Lando rushed for 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns for Cartersville, including the go-ahead from 2 yards out with 14 seconds left in the game to lead the Purple Hurricanes to a 21-17 road win over Calhoun. I mentioned they trailed 17-0 at the half. They scored their first points in the third quarter with a Connor Brassfield rushing touchdown. They improved to 6-0 and moved to 1-0 in Region 7 with the win. Calhoun dropped to 4-2 and 0-1. Also in Region 7, Cass got the win, Cartersville got the win, and then Hiram won 49-39 over Dalton. A ton of offense in this game. Dalton was up 24-14 at the half, but it looks like Hiram outscored them, 35-15 in the second half, so just a ton of points. And so they ended up gaining a 33-31 lead. Lots of lead changes in the second half. Then Dalton was up 37-33 with 6:30 left, and then Hiram put the game away with late touchdowns. It looks like Caden Hamilton and Kendarius Brown. So back and forth game. Hiram comes away with a big victory. There are, as we mentioned, 6 teams potentially in that region that have playoff potential. So let's see who's going to take it, but we'll have a big one this week with Cass and Cartersville. See who handles business in that one. Another close game in region play was Ola and Warner Robins. Ola had Warner Robins completely on the ropes. Looks like they were up, I want to say by 10 points, but they ended up losing, I think, on a 2-point conversion. Let's see. We have to have a roundup on that. Okay, yeah, 28-27. They ended up tying it at 20-20. And then, yeah, went for it on 2. Man, that's gutsy. So they've had a wild season, but that was a big win for them. Ola is going to be a team to watch. It's a crowded region also. They got Jones County in there as well. All right, Jefferson, man, did they look good this year. 44-0 win over Winterboro. They're ranked as high as number 3 in most polls, and they are cruising. Sammy Brown had a blocked punt and rushed for a touchdown, and it looks like a bunch of other guys are getting involved, and they look outstanding. All right. In 4A, Burke County and Wayne County, I knew that was going to be a tough matchup for both teams. Wayne County's defense is outstanding. They run the ball extremely well. Burke County's battle-tested, and both of those teams are going to have to take on Benedictine later in Region 3, but Burke County got a 37-32 win. Looks like Wayne County cut into it. I think it was a 23-12 game, so Burke County got a pretty big lead. Wayne County tried to come out, but Burke County definitely impressed. All right, Westminster, a 9-3 victory over Holy Innocents. I was very surprised with that one. I thought Holy Innocents would have the edge, but that's a huge win and result for Westminster. And it looks like that was just a chess match the entire time. A lot of big-time field goals, a 49-yarder, and just 2 teams that both just played extremely close the entire time. All right, Cairo, 38-0 win over Shaw. Looks like they've cracked a lot of these polls this week in 4A. They've had a pretty good run the last several weeks. Benedictine was an 8-point winner over New Hampstead. It was a really good game. New Hampstead tried to come back from a 29-12 halftime deficit. They brought it within 1 point. Benedictine closed the door. You got Bainbridge beating a ranked Brooks County team 42-0. And then, let's see. Yeah, Perry had a huge win. Troop got a big victory over North Clayton, their second game without Teo Todd. Pace Academy had a 27-6 win. So there's some big games coming up in 4A and a lot of parity. All right, the other shocking result, 3A, Mary Persons, 45-28 win over Prince Avenue Christian, the defending champs, that snaps a big win streak that goes back multiple seasons for Prince Ave. and a big statement by Mary Persons. Let's see where they went in the poll this week. Okay, they went up to number 4 in Class 3A. So Prince Avenue's in 2A. No, sorry, they're in Class A Division 1. They stay at number 1, but looks like Mary Persons moved up a spot. All right, one sec. All right, Peach County, they got their first win of the season last week against Hardaway, big victory, and then a strong result, 36-19 win over Carver Atlanta. That's 2 straight wins. Obviously, that's a non-region game, but that's a good sign for them. They're starting to string together some victories. Carver's a tough team. They outscored them 23-7 in the second quarter. We'll see how Carver bounces back. We know they got some tough matchups coming up in region play. Stevens County, 38-7 win over Monroe area. They're rising in the 3A polls as well. And then Calvary Day looks like they're a state championship contender, 56-0 win over Johnson Savannah. Let's see, were there any other big upsets? Let's hear it.
So Jimmy said Thomasville comes to Carver Columbus for what could potentially be the region championship in Region 1. Said go Tigers. So what do you think about that?
Man, all right, let's see. Thomasville and all right, so Carver Columbus, I know they've lost like 2 straight. They almost beat Brookwood. Okay, a 40-0 response this week. Thomasville 34-14. Thomasville is ranked 7 at this point. Let's see. I want to see who's played the tougher schedule. All right, so I think Thomasville's played the tougher schedule, but those results also have not been that good. Those were not competitive games for them. They beat Brooks County, that was big. Got blown out by Thomas County Central. It's a very tough matchup for a 3A team. And then Cairo and Bainbridge, they did beat Tift County pretty big. All right, then Carver, they lost to Northeast. It's a top 5 team. The loss to Brookwood, I don't blame them at that at all. And then that Hapeville Charter loss is not a bad one either. Hapeville just beat Stevenson this week. They both, let's see, and then last season. Okay, so there's a 15-14 game last year. I'm going to have to look at the contrast of styles in that, but, I mean, so far, I think it's going to be pretty even. What Carver has not done yet, though, is win a close game. So that's something that haunted them last year, as we know, in the playoffs. In the 1-point loss to Thomasville, they need someone to step up and win a close game. I think that'd be the biggest just impetus if they can come out and get that win. But that'll be a big matchup. I promise we're going to look into that, Jimmy. And I definitely agree that will be a de facto region championship game. And that'll be huge. There's a lot of good games this week. Man, it's not that I wanted Brookwood to lose, but man, if Carver Columbus would have gotten that win, that would have been amazing. And that one really came down to an onside kick, something that, I mean, the team doesn't really get a lot. That's not only you have to get it, then you got to drive down and set up the field goal. So a lot of things had to happen for them to lose that game. I know that was a tough one, but it looks like they have responded. So I think they'll be ready to go. All right, let's look at this reclassification stuff real quick. All right, so the NIL news came. We know that Georgia, I think they're like one of 30 states to adopt it. We're seeing that a lot. The states want to be competitive, and I think the biggest thing with NIL is it's just moving very swiftly. It's just seems like there's no hurdles. Just once something gets picked up at one state, it's a copy and paste, because you don't want your state to have a disadvantage. You want to keep things going. I also think it's interesting, though, when you look at the NIL like evaluation for a player, they have their social media accounts like linked to it. So in the past, like your 247 profile, it's like, here's how many stats you had last season, here's what you run the 100 meter in, or here's what you did in your other athletic feats. This is about follower account, and then that goes into your NIL value. Well, because of that, it's no surprise that these big-time players are wanting to hire the photographers, videographers to go to the game, capture the content, and just keep the social media fresh and updated with what they're doing on the field. Huddle tape doesn't tend to go as viral as some of the great work out there. So I think that's something with the NIL passing, we're going to see that really grow with just great photographers, videographers, and kids focusing on getting that content out to show kind of what they bring to the field. But here it goes. It goes, with an abundance of trepidation. So, okay, I'm not going to do that. All right. I don't know why you'd open it with that, but the GHSA is ready to pass a bylaw today that will allow athletes to profit from their name, image, and likeness. So the legislation was already passed by the state, but I guess they're just adopting it now. So GHSA President Jim Finch supports the plan but does not love it. So okay, that's where the trepidation is. He's the chairman of the GHSA's Board of Trustees, which made the proposal that will go before the 75-member executive committee in Macon. The only good thing I see in the NIL bylaw right now is that at least we're in front of any litigation or legislation that may force us to do it. Exactly. I mean, if it becomes state law, what's the GH going to do? Boycott? Of course not. All right, so my viewpoint may change on that in the future. I'm a capitalist and a realist, which is to say I'm all for capitalizing on opportunities, but we need to proceed with caution. I think the NCAA went into this thing without any guardrails, and I can foresee schools in the GHSA membership abusing NIL opportunities for undue influence and recruiting. Under that situation, the rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer. I think that's just a fair statement. There's obviously going to be pros and cons. There's going to be teams that take advantage of it, teams with better resources, a history of players, and then we already see it at the college level. If you're on a team with just a national superstar, every single player around them, their value is going to go up too. And so if you have a team with just loaded with top prospects, other guys are going to want to go there, not just to chase championships, which we've seen in the past. Now it's about chasing championships and financial opportunities, not just in the short term, for the long term. You can set yourself up with a really good situation starting out in high school now. That is something that has never happened before. All right. The GHSA's proposed guardrails would make it illegal for schools and boosters to provide NIL money as incentive for athletes to enroll or remain enrolled at a school. That means no collectives like those in college sports that collect and disperse booster funds. But I'm not convinced buffer personnel or a line item in a booster club's budget won't find their way into the NIL world, which would in turn influence the student to attend or transfer from a certain school, Finch said. I want to be positive, not jaded about this new landscape, but I'm also trying to be real and naive. Oh, not naive. Other GHSA stipulations would make it illegal for athletes to use their school's logo, uniform, mascots, names, or trademarks in any monetary deals. Athletes may not accept money that is linked for a specific sports achievement or performance. Athletes must report NIL deals to their school within 7 days to allow GHSA oversight. And you can read more about that, but I think that is very interesting, and I'm excited to see what happens with it. And that's just one thing that might change things. I think this new reclassification, I mean, this is way different than what we see. The regions are going to be bigger. It's going to just be a much different look. And so the vote for a separate private state playoffs in 3A through A. Let's hear about it. So private schools in classes 3A through A will be playing for state championships separate from public schools beginning in 2024 to 2025 if the GHSA's executive committee approves the plan today in Macon. The GHSA's reclassification committee voted 12-2 on Sunday to recommend the plan to the 75-member executive committee, which can make it official today. The plan would keep private and public schools together in region play during the regular season, but separate them for the playoffs. Power ratings would seed the playoffs for public and private schools. The public schools, and so, all right, the power ratings. We've seen a situation now where coaches try to challenge themselves in the non-region schedule. If it's going by power ratings, does that potentially change? Do you want maybe some winnable games on that early schedule? All right, the public schools would have championships in 3A, 2A, and Class A, Division I, and Division II. Private schools would have a single championship in 3A through A. The 3A through A division would resemble the old Class A model that existed from 2012 to 2013. From 2012/13 all the way up until 2019/20, when publics and privates were together for region play but separated for the playoffs. The 3A/A might also take in some larger schools, especially if Class 4A members such as Westminster and Lovett fall back into 3A when the new enrollment figures come in. There currently are 23 football playing private schools in 3A to A. So as he said, they're going to stay in regions that are mixed with public and private, but then all compete for one state title. So you could still see schools like the bigger ones, Marist, BT, St. Pius, Woodward, up in the higher classifications, but then I guess they would compete in the 3A. I'm going to have to read a little more about that, but I just find that interesting. The one championship, that's going to be very interesting, kind of like its own separate league. But we've had the separate championship in the past with Class A public, but then, as you know, like that was when BT, Lovett, Holy Innocents, they were in that like Class 3A, 2A range. So we'll see where all the chips fall, but certainly an interesting development, and that vote is happening today, so won't have to wait too long. I'll probably have an announcement out very soon. Okay, let me just get the dates real quick for the volleyball and softball. And we'll have this week's softball rankings come out tomorrow, and then Wednesday we'll have the latest volleyball rankings. Okay, so volleyball, that's going to be November 3rd through the 4th. That's the championships. And then fast pitch starts 1 week earlier. That's going to be, once again, at Columbus, October 25th through the 28th. So that'll be big time. Looks like, let's see when the playoff bracket starts. October 17th through 18th for volleyball. So we got, the region play this week. That will start seeding the teams, and then we'll have the playoffs kicking off real soon. We got basketball coming up in November. That's going to be here before we know it. And then, what is this going to be, week 8 of the high school season? That is crazy. We're getting into crunch time. Some big games this week for sure. What did you say the GPB web game is going to be? East Paulding. Okay, East Paulding and Langston Hughes. That will be the GPB web game. We're going to be at Cass Cartersville. And then, do you know what the GPB game is going to be? I wonder if they're doing Mill Creek Buford.
That's ESPN.
That's ESPN? So lots of games to set your DVR for.
Oh, Carrollton versus East Coweta. Game we did last
Nice. Carrollton, East Coweta, that would be a good one for sure. So lots of games. We'll have all the scores updated. We'll be back tomorrow with Underrated and Overlooked, talking college football and NFL, as well as high school football. You can go to scoreatl.com. We got some new articles up, including the daily dives, and we'll have the latest football rankings posted in the next hour. But thank you, everyone, for joining us. Hope you guys have a good week.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.